being unapologetically attractive.
I'm gonna tell you about a woman whose heart is sunshine, whose body burned hot. I'm gonna tell you about a woman who's cold as tundra with some frozen eyes. I can tell by the way she moves that she cares. And it's
Well, welcome to the C-Note Show, guys. It's 11:02 here Mountain Time on Thursday, May 21st. We are here because just like I was in 2015, you're probably in a lot of relationship pain. It's like, what do I do about this situation? And you're here because you want to laugh and learn at the same time. We share deep shit and we share funny movie clips. I've got another American Pie clip going on. I've got a 3-minute clip with Tony Robbins today and Simon Sinek today. And I've got a phenomenal clip that I found of Brene Brown that she did a sort of an artsy interview that I had never seen before. And there's a beautiful little clip. So I'm going to show some of Brene Brown today too. It's going to be fantastic. The C-Note Show is your daily playbook for more hugs, kisses, affection, and sex. And on that note, I'd like to introduce my beautiful, amazingly talented co-host, Miss Cynthia Cruz.
Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you happen to be. And thank you so much for being here today. It is such a pleasure and it truly brightens my day. So thank you.
And so our theme of this week is how to be unapologetically attractive. That's our goal. Is we want to be attractive and we want to be unapologetically attractive in a healthy way, in a calm, confident, masculine way, in a mojo-filled way, without being needy. We want to feel respected in our own self and respected by others and not being needy. And and it doesn't always go as planned, right? It doesn't always go as planned. Sometimes we fall on our face. Sometimes we're trying to climb the stairs of intimacy and we tumble backwards. And sometimes it feels like it could be even more embarrassing. And on that note, I want to share this American Pie clip to start us off with some laughs today. Here we go.
Yes, I am the best, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was a tit. That is a tit.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, you're so big.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right, baby.
Hey, Jimmy. Just wanted to say sweet dreams.
Yeah. Sweet dreams. Good night, Mom.
Good night.
Yeah.
Something wrong with the reception?
Yeah. There's this nature show that I'm trying to watch.
Yes. Baby, ride me like a pony.
Thing must be broken. I sat on the remote or something.
Ready for bed, son?
Yep, I'm all set, Dad. All set. Yeah.
No. I think he's trying to watch some illegal channels here.
Illegal channels?
This is just bad reception, honey.
I'll smack my hairy ass.
What's that?
Oh, baby.
You know what? Here, just
Please
give me this, and let's get this.
Yeah.
Oh.
No. Yes.
Okay. Let's. What the hell's the matter with this thing?
Oh, man. At least we didn't have that happen to us this morning. Oh, my goodness. Cynthia, what is that like when you get caught with a tube sock on your genitals?
It's mortifying, Jeff. It's really mortifying.
Oh, my God. I don't know how many other men on here had a flashback when they were a teenager with the whole, the reception, and you find the channel, whatever it was, 67 or something. It's like, oh, my God, there's actually porn here. If I were to pay for this, you see the random boob and the like. That's exactly what I thought of that's exactly my experience as a teenager. It was just like that. Not being caught like that, thank God. Not being caught like that. Goodness sake. But yeah, absolutely. Oh, man. So on that note, right, raise your hand in the participant section. No, I'm just joking. So definitely if you have a question for us today, you're going to raise your hand in participants within Zoom or post a question on chat. Just like always, we would love to field a question. And I'm going to... Oh man, my smile in my head where I was smiling is just hurting right now. It's so funny. So I want to go to our start off question of today. Absolutely, gentlemen, raise your hand in the participant section. We'd love to have you jump in and give us your feedback or your thoughts or an experience that you went through. Maybe not being caught masturbated. If you want to share being caught masturbated, you can. But it's, So that's my opening line for today. If you want to share you being caught masturbated, that's on our show today. All right, so here's our question, not about masturbation. So he says, I reacted in the ways I shouldn't have when she left 14 months ago. At that time, I had lost my masculine edge and any kind of polarity was out the window. But I learned to duck and not take her harsh comments personally. This helped things. She came around more. She started dating me, would offer to come over and take me out, etc. Of course, she never officially came back to me 100%. I want to ask about this. Of course, she never came back to me 100%. More like a testing the waters type of deal, wanting to see if this was genuine, and she was intrigued with the way I was handling things. The results were positive, even if it didn't patch things up completely. I do struggle with looking back on harsh comments made to me with resentment from time to time. How do I practice not taking it personally when this happens? So, Cynthia, I'd love for you to unmute yourself and jump in. How can this man start down the path of, maybe it's using one of our tools, which we will develop again today, right? We've been developing on this show over time, and I have available, and Cynthia and I have available to us. Maybe it's one of our tools, or where would you start with this man? If he were to call you, as a professional coach like you and I are, and he asked this question, where would you take him first?
Yeah, well, first I would say it's so human to think about what's been said to us and to be totally detached from our emotional response to that is it's kind of like having to be Superman, and yet at the same time we crave that freedom because it's out of our control. So I think first recognizing, I would say that this is normal. It's gonna be a trigger every now and then. Maybe in the moment it was, when she was saying these things, it was like 1,000 bees were stinging you and it was so uncomfortable. And now when you remember, because sounds like you've done so much work, it's like a occasional bee sting, and that's okay. And things like this are not I can just figure out one thing today and then I'm like released. It's a daily practice of touching into what we're willing to release, what we don't want in our life, what we do want, what we're worth, and really owning that. And what do we know to be true about ourselves and the kind of relationships we want to be in. And so that morning practice, that morning journal time, not just for a few days and then, why is the bee sting still here? But what happens if you journal about that 20 times in a row? How much freedom are you going to have from really allowing yourself to process that?
Yeah, I love that. The metaphor of the bee stings. And it may feel like we're being swarmed and overwhelmed and we have an allergic reaction and we get angry or shut down or run away. Or there's those bee stings to the relationship, right? These resentments or pains that have happened in the past feel like old wounds, feel like old bee stings that we can still feel. And your process that you brought up that we've talked about here on the show, let me share the screen here, with our 3 forms of confidence: behavioral, emotional, and spiritual. So one of the ways to grow your behavioral confidence, your behavioral skills, is the morning kingly plan that we've developed here on the show with you guys. And so, Cynthia, you insinuated, in the morning, like we talk about your kingly plan on your throne in the morning. And so step 0 is get up. Step 1 is a 1-sentence appreciation, which I'm going to share my appreciation journal here in a moment. I brought that for you guys today to show off. Read something for 3 minutes, as I was mentioning the previous couple of days on this show. And then what do I know to be true? And these first steps can be done within 5 minutes of getting up. And so I say there's really no excuse to not starting your day off on a good foot when you have these kind of process. So this is I told you a couple of days ago I'd share this Oscar Wilde quote in the front: "Life is too important to be taken seriously." This is a gift from Cynthia. And so just to show off a tiny bit, right? I put things that I enjoy that were sticky notes from last year. So I pulled these off of my mirror, which I had up there for, the entire year or over 6 months, right? And I put those at the front. And then I started this when quarantine started to happen. So this is from April 12th, basically. So this is obviously, quarantine started in March, but this has all been the past month here. So I've got one sentence or one-line appreciations of things. And sometimes I fit in 2 within the one line. And here we go. And then I marked this morning and then tomorrow's date, 5/22. So I've already started myself off for my 1-sentence appreciation for tomorrow. So I'm curious, I'd love some feedback from you guys. Who has been trying parts of this kingly plan? Or have you been doing an appreciation journal for years at this point? And what has it done for you? So raise your hand in the participant section or in chat. Let us know. I'd love for you to jump on if you're open of what has been your morning routine that you have done for your own self. Okay. And on that note, I want to honor some regulars that are here today and everybody that's on the show. You guys are fantastic. Iain, John, Joseph, Kent, you guys are phenomenal. Patrick from New Zealand, and Ian's here from Spain. Iain says he has another guest for us today. Fraser's on the show, hopefully again. He was on a little over a week ago, which was phenomenal. So Brett's here. Andy's here again. Love you guys. Chris, Harry. Hussein came on. We said hi before the show. And Rob came on and showed his face and said hi before the show. Randy's here too. Love you guys. So Cynthia, I'm going to bring on thus far, he's my favorite guest so far. And Fraser, I've been talking you up since we spoke to you last. Cynthia, let's say hi to Fraser. Cynthia, jump in, please.
Oh my gosh. Fraser, thank you so much for coming back on and sharing with us. I really appreciate that.
So Fraser, this week, we have the theme of being unapologetically attractive. So share with us, how are you unapologetically attractive in your life and in your relationship?
Right, okay. That's a good one, Jeff. No, unapologetically attractive. Right, okay. I've just been talking to Iain about his situation, etc. One of the things that I said to him is to move on, okay, and I think we spoke about this previously, about treading water. And you shouldn't tread water, and you need to go on like we are in this COVID thing with phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And one of the things is start thinking about having some fun with somebody else and not being apologetic about it.
Yeah, fantastic. So I love what you're saying is that if it's time to move on, then we need to recognize the reality of the situation, right? So question number 3 that I showed was, what do I know to be true? And so what do you think Iain knows to be true? If I were to ask you, because Iain's sitting right there, what do you think Iain knows to be true?
Oh, Jeff, what I know to be true is that when it happened to me, and you go through certain realizations saying, this is happening, and do I accept it? However, when you go into the phase of saying, hey, I'm going to start doing things I've never done before, and I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to get to, hopefully, ripe old age that I'm at now, and say, I've never had a regret doing what I did. I had fun. I never hurt anyone. I gave them pleasure, they gave me pleasure, and we had great fun. Now, if you don't do that, I think that you're going to stagnate and go, well, like I was saying to Iain, the fairy is not going to come down with her magic wand and say, everything's going to be fine. It ain't going to happen. You're past that stage. So, past that stage and say, right, how am I going to have fun? How am I going to enjoy what my situation is? My situation is, okay, it's black, grey, not too good. Hey, you can have some fun and make it bright. And by doing that, have relationships, go out with other people of your opposite sex, your own sex, whatever your gender is, whatever you want to do. Have fun and start thinking, hey, I'm going to do things I've never done before. And that's what I think, that when you move through that stage, you've really got to say, there's a whole lot out there I've never done and I really want to do. And personally, what I did, I had 7 years actually since my divorce until I married again, of absolute sheer heaven.
I don't doubt it. I love it. Thank you, Fraser. So, Cynthia, I'd love for you to give Fraser some feedback, and then I have a question for him. So, how is he coming across? I'm going to mute you for just a moment, Fraser, because of the background noise. So, Cynthia, how is Fraser coming across as a man and being unapologetically attractive within our theme of this week? Give us some feedback.
Oh, wow. Well, it's so, as you were speaking, Fraser, you were so certain and so knowing, and it's something that you've experienced and that you have your stake in the sand on, and that felt incredibly powerful. And I felt really honored to get to hear some of your story, and I love that you took some time off between your divorce and your next relationship. And I certainly did a lot of that when I would end a relationship. I would maybe even take 2 years off just to kind of relearn myself. And those times were sometimes lonely and fun and heaven, but they were just gold. So I really appreciate hearing that part of your story.
Yeah, Cynthia, that's a good point. There needs to be a differentiating time, whether it's 3 months or 6 months or 12 months or 2 years, between the old relationship and wanting to start something else new. Now, you definitely want to have fun in the meantime with your own guy friends, with females as well. With females, it's funny. With other women as well, right? So, Fraser, I want to ask you, in considering, for instance, Iain's scenario and your scenario when you were divorced, and it's been a long time now, correct? It's been a long time. So if a man is having a very difficult time, let's say, getting over his ex, or he wants to reach out to his ex, he's really trying to reconnect, even if she's not interested in reconnecting, he's almost addicted to that. So what would you say, or did you have a moment like that when you felt that it was really hard to move on?
Yeah, indeed, Jeff. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I this afternoon talked to Iain about it, and believe you've got to look at the cards in your hand. What cards have you got in your hand? Now, if you're holding a load of cards, which I believe Iain is loading a load of cards in his hand, you've got to play them, and he's not. He's not. You see, you've got so many advantages that you don't recognize. You're attractive, you're interesting, you've got a job, you're outgoing, you're et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All these things which you don't look at, you don't realize, and you've got to play them. You've got to play them to the hilt and have some fun, go out there and do it. But don't dwell, and I think I mentioned previously when we talked last time, don't tread water. Okay, we know about treading water. We know about that you've got to dwell and you've got to go through that. But you've got to go through the next phase. And the next phase is, hey, what's positive about me? And push those things out. You don't need to push them out. Just lay them down and play them and have fun. But work with them. Don't look at the negative. Understand the negative. Know where you're coming from. But not the here and now. Start thinking about the future, tomorrow, the next hour, the next minute. Start thinking that way. That's what I believe, Jeff.
Oh, I love that, Fraser. Thank you very much. I'm going to put you on mute for a moment. And if Iain wants to jump in here in a second, that would be great as well. So we have some comments in the chat that love Fraser. So Dan said, so true, exclamation point, Fraser, so true. And Dennis says, yep, he agrees with that. Yes, it is important for men of all ages to get out there too and have an adventure in life. Absolutely. Kent says, hell yes, love it, Fraser. Fantastic. So Iain, go ahead and jump in and give us some feedback. Yeah, thumbs up, Fraser. Awesome. You guys are fantastic. So Iain, you were over there very patiently allowing Fraser to speak about you and telling you to, play your cards and enjoy life and to move forward, which I agree with, all of that as well. Well, how do we play our cards? How do you want to play your cards moving forward, Iain? What do you think?
That's a good question. How do I want to play my cards? It's knowing the cards you've got to start with and actually realizing you've got a pair of aces up your sleeve that you maybe hadn't discovered or hidden a while ago, which I found a lot of the time that I've been clouded and I've been looking back. And also having the binoculars on, trying to get too far ahead. That's what Fraser's saying, which is why part of the reason we're down here at the beach today is it's about enjoying where I am in the moment and getting through these times and not trying to just dwell on the big decisions and just letting things flow through a little bit more and enjoying myself, definitely.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm going to put you on mute for a second again, Iain. That reminds me of a client I had who had met an American woman in Switzerland. He was from Portugal, and he was completely detached from his emotional center, his spiritual center of the beach and kite surfing and sun. And that reminds me of your background, Fraser and Iain. It's so amazing. And to what you're saying, Iain, is the first thing is how do we get back in touch with ourselves and what fuels us up? And I think that's definitely a card that we want to play immediately. Maybe we were holding the cards close to the chest and we were relying on her to fill us up instead of also filling ourselves up, right? There's us, there's her, and there's the relationship. And Fraser, to your point last time, we of course want to give to the relationship, absolutely. And we need to give to ourselves, and she needs to give to herself as well. And if that's going to the beach, if that's being in the sun, if that's going for a walk with the dog, if that's reading a book, if that's going for a run for yourself, we need to play that card for ourselves. So Cynthia, I'd love for you to jump in, and the metaphor I wanted to put down here was play your cards. And so I'd love for you to share, what does a man have in his hand? What does a man often have as a card in his hand that he doesn't even realize that he has? Maybe he abdicated his responsibilities or something in the past. Maybe abdicated his own happiness in the past. So what cards does a man generally have that he doesn't even know?
It goes to the very core of who you are. And I touched on yesterday how blown away I was to learn about what honor is to a man and how different that is in women. And I still don't think I quite understand the power of that in you. And so that solid place that you have of honor to what you know to be true, what you value, what you think is important in this world is such a energetic feeling to all of us who are around you. It is this solid, warm, heart-centered presence that is, yeah, sure, there are days and moments, but it is like solid, like a tree. And whether it's, those of us in your world, whether we're women or children or, other gentlemen, life can get kind of oceanic sometimes, and it can be scary and it can be watery and uncertain. And I know that you don't always have all the answers and don't always have I have the perfect vision and it never changes. But just that core of who you are and how you stand in your masculinity, even in moments of uncertainty, is something really to reach out and hold on to. And we all appreciate that in this world.
Oh, Cynthia, I love your reverence for our men, our honoring for the men here. And that's something that we so crave, and we so would love to be able to inspire that in our own lives. I want to show about a 1-minute clip of Simon Sinek he's on Larry King, and he's talking about success. And Larry opens this question with, there may be one man that has this financial success and a family, and he feels like he's not successful when someone else might think that he is. And another man over here might be a fisherman, and from the outside, he doesn't have a lot of financial success, and someone else may not say he's successful, but he feels fulfilled and loved, and he gives love in his world and in his community and his family, and he feels successful.
It's not a series of check marks and goals. I think people define success as finish lines. I ran a marathon, I'm successful. The question is, A, why did you run the marathon? And what happens after you've completed the marathon? Do you just keep running marathons? What happens if you break your leg and you can no longer run marathons? A lot of people set financial goals. I'm successful when I make my first million. Okay, now I have to make my second million. Success is a feeling, and it's the feeling of contribution. So your bus driver in Queens, if he has decided that his job as a bus driver is to ensure that everyone who gets on his bus feels better about themselves because they got on his bus and not another bus. And so he greets them with a smile. He says good morning. He says goodbye. That people will remember that ride that they took with him, versus this vice president of the company who's made it about himself and his financial goals. He's the one who's unhappy, as opposed to seeing those around him succeed and those around him go home with a love of their their day, because they come to work in his company every day. So I still believe success and good leadership are about service to others.
Yeah, success and good leadership are about service to others and contributing. So such amazing stuff. Good. So I want to take a turn. In our show because we're feeling really good. We're coming up here. So I'm going to fucking dive us down into the ocean here. I'm going to dive us into the water because that's what the show does. We go up and down, and humor and in enlightenment and learning, and also down into the shit. Okay. So yeah, Jeff, that's all nice. And, Iain's attractive and he's on the beach in Spain and he's got this amazing support with Fraser and I don't have any of those things. I'm in bumfuck nowhere. I'm separated in the same house during quarantine. She looks at me with disgust every single day. I haven't had sex in, God, I don't know how many months. I stopped counting, or it's exactly this many minutes since I had sex the last time, right? So fuck you guys. Fuck you guys get to go to the beach and have amazing support. Well, yeah, sometimes that's our reality. And so how do we get ourselves out of that? Right? So I'm going to jump over into our notes and some tools for today. How do we get ourselves out of the fuck it mentality? There's Simon Sinek's. I'll post this here right in chat. I don't know the name of the video, but if you're here on our show, you get the benefit of getting links immediately, and we answer questions immediately. So there's that for you guys that are in our chat here today. So let's move into some tools. I have a Brene Brown clip that I want to share a little bit later today on a website called The Work of the People, which I just found last night is phenomenal. So let's talk about, well, how do I move forward through the shit? Well, the first step, guys, is being honest that we're in the shit. Okay? The man that says, yeah, this is my reality, this is my situation, here's what I'm facing. Great. At least we're being honest about it. Okay? At least we're not bullshitting ourselves. So Cynthia, I'd love for you to jump in. And when a man contacts us and he has a question, and that question looks like he's really not presenting all of the truth to us, what's the first thing that you wonder to yourself? What's the first thing that you want to enlighten or shine a light on for this man and to help this man realize if it feels like he's not fully in his truth?
Yeah, the first thing I want to know is what is he feeling guilty about or even ashamed about to share, that it feels like, oh, if I was to put this out on the table, I might be judged or seen as wrong. That's the thing I always want to invite forth because, there is the shadow. It loves to exist in us, and we think that our shadow is, the worst one, and no one else could possibly hold space for that or have compassion for that. And when we are allowed to share the shadow and put it on the table with someone who doesn't judge and says, okay, let's look at this. Let's bring some light to that. That it is a freeing feeling. It's like taking the bricks out of the backpack that you've been carrying. Once those things get out on the table, there is a level of, hey, let's be honest and truthful. To really move forward on this really requires some action steps. And, if we're thinking that if to move forward would to be to show more of our shadow, we get kind of stuck. And I can get kind of stuck in saying I'll do one thing and then trying and being like, oh, this is not going to work, and just, giving up. And it really is having someone in your life helping you with perseverance, because it will get better. That shadow side will get lighter. The guilt or whatever you're feeling will dissipate. It just needs repetition, it needs habit, and it needs commitment.
I love that. It does feel like our own shadow, our own stuff is the biggest thing in the world. And that's what this work can do. That's what being shoulder to shoulder with another man that's doing this work. That's why you guys are here. That's why you're in this community. You're on our private Facebook group, or those of you that are doing one-on-one coaching to move through this even faster. So Iain, let me ask you another question. Is that okay? You look like you're ready for a question. Iain in the chat, Iain said, "Don't let the beach fool you. Relationship wise, it's been a pretty crap day," with 2 exclamation points. It's been a crap day. Okay, Grant. All right, that's fine. I honor that. That's honest. So let me share this kingly plan and let me ask you a question from it. So, what doesn't work for you right now? What doesn't work in your relationship right now, and what's the opposite of that? So, if you would jump on and share what doesn't work for you right now, and what's the opposite? Go for it. You're unmuted. Go for it.
Okay, what doesn't work is still hanging on to the belief or the idea that the covert contract, I'm working to try and work on the relationship on my side, but not getting anything back on from her. It's the expectation and the hope that there will be something of our relationship going forward. And I think that I had a conversation this morning, just reaffirmed that we are moving apart and it's a separation, and I really need to get back on my own horse and move forward, which is what Fraser's been talking about today, about the cards.
There.
Yeah.
And it's coming to terms with that and accepting that. And that's hard to do. And as you say, you repeat, and with repetition, it helps. And a lot of the work you're doing as well, and the messages coming through and the tools you're giving really helps you focus, get you back down to earth, get you back into yourself and knowing who you are and what you want and where you want to go. And that's becoming really key to me now. And that's where I'm moving towards, rather than trying to work too much on a relationship that maybe is, maybe isn't there. But it's at the moment, it's focusing on myself rather than trying to work all of these areas at the same time.
Yeah, I love it. I'm just going to mute you for the sound. So you said covert contract of wanting to improve the relationship, which I want to bring up, and then the repetition of the skills and how to bring out your own heart and move it forward in the world. If you're a man on this call right now and you'd love to share your experience or give some feedback here, please raise your hand. I'd love for you guys to come on. It's part of the business and heart that we do here, the heart and business. And the business part is it makes a fun video, right, guys? So it's helpful to other men in the world as well when they can see your face and hear other points of view. So please raise your hand in the participant section if you'd like to jump in. So Iain, I love what you said about uncovering those covert contracts within your own self of, you're moving, it sounds like you're moving toward her with the hope and expectation that that's going to better the relationship. And that's not something that she is even open for. Is that true?
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. So what are you hoping is different when you approach her in this way? Or, are you done approaching her in that way? Or what do you hope is different when you do move toward her? What do you hope changes?
I'm not sure it's changing, but I think a lot of it is just trying to dispel some of the gremlins or the demons in my own head that I'm making up, and just to try and find out the facts and where I am and where she is, and say, look, if we're not going anywhere, then I just need to hear that maybe once, twice, 3 times and process that myself and move on, rather than my own head making up things that maybe we can get back together, or maybe I can, if I'm doing this, then she'll notice. And it's just getting out of that cycle, and maybe hearing from her and knowing where she is, that helps reaffirm the facts and just refocuses myself as well as these talks. But talking to her as well, in a sense, does refocus myself.
Jason, you raised your hand. I'd love for you to jump in. Thank you. And can you unmute yourself?
I just want to give encouragement to Iain and everybody else going through this hell part of trying to make sense of everything. Who am I? Who she is? Why is this happening? What the fuck is going on? Oh, sorry about the word.
Sorry, man. Yeah.
But it does pass. Maybe just some encouragement. And I don't know when or how it happened, but one day I just understood that I have no control over it. It is what it is, and now I'm moving on from there. I mean, I couldn't change the fact of who I was married to or that I was getting divorced. That was a fact. So moving
so
on
what
from
else?
there was a big thing.
Yeah, what else was going on in your life that helped you feel confident within your own self, that kind of pulled you or pushed your heart forward away from that despair?
Hope that there was a better life or a different life out there. A lot of what Fraser was talking about. I was dating a lot. I kept in contact with this work and these men, and able to voice those shadows or gremlins or whatever you want to call them to guys who didn't judge me and said, "Yeah, I get it, man. I'm there too." Empathy is amazing, especially coming from men. And doing things every day that energize me, not just stuff that I always wanted to do, not a bucket list type stuff, but stuff that energized me. I listened to music again. I started dancing. I started having a lot of sex. Um, just stuff that made me feel powerful and grounded. And I loved reading and learning and all the above. I just a disclosure here, or whatever, not a disclosure, but the man standing across me on the screen probably gave me a lot more bumps than I felt I deserved at the time. So thank you.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm so those of you guys that don't know, Jason has beaten cancer in the past 5 years. He's got an amazing, incredible story of accomplishment and success. And I think one of the things I said to you was like, yeah, you can't use cancer as an excuse anymore, man.
Yeah, because it's reality, right? I put it in the context of this conversation. It just happened. It did. So I got to sleep continuously for 2 years. That was a gift. I didn't need to reframe it.
Look at you. Look at you.
I'll need to reframe it somehow to where it was a benefit. But yeah, I get it.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate it, bud. Thanks for coming on. So cool. Yeah, man. Jason has such an amazing heart, and that's something that's why I got into education, which was meaning I'm there shoulder to shoulder, like the Spartan that holds up the shield that locks together guys. That's the point. And if I have to be out front and take the blows for someone, that's what I did in the school system with kids that couldn't defend themselves and families that were having a tough time. And I had one kid that his parents were in 2 different gangs. The parents separated and were 2 different gangs, just straight up gangs. And he was coming to school every day. And why should he give a shit about school? And I wanted to make life, fun for him and surprising and open up some ideas other than just which gang am I going to join when I'm, 14 years old. And so anyway, I love those success stories. Cynthia, I want to circle back to Iain for a moment. And so Iain, you said that when I go to her and I want to talk with her about relationship, and talking with her seems to help is one thing that you said. But another thing that you said was, I'm trying to move forward here and I want to understand what I want, right? So when you go speak with her, what does she say? Does it feel like she leads you on in relationship? Because that's a lot of situations with men here is she's wishy-washy, it seems. She goes back and forth, it seems. That's our opening question of today, which is, let me go up to the question really fast here, which is, how do I practice not taking it personally when I'm thinking back on these harsh comments that she made, right? So we're thinking about the past, we're thinking about the future, we're trying to be present in our body. So in your situation, Iain, what does she say that's potentially confusing, or what does she want from the relationship? Please share with us.
To be fair, I think she's been very clear. I don't think she's being confusing at all. And she's said she needs space. And we started a separation. She's been a week on her own. And she said today, she said, look, I'm sorry, but she enjoyed the time on her own. And she's very clear that her priority now is the family and the kids and making sure that transition is the easiest possible for them. And she seems very clear in that aspect, which is giving me some, well, just reinforcing that message from her, which I maybe I'm choosing not to listen to or to accept or not take on board. And it's been given to me by a number of sources now, and coming from her, yeah, it's something I need to accept, and just it's about giving her that space. Now, how I work through that is my issue, and that's what I need to deal with. And then maybe put some plans and just talk through the practicalities of that with her and move on. And I think that will help both her and I move forward.
Iain, thank you. I'm going to put you on mute. Cynthia, please jump in. What are the feelings that you're getting from Iain and his situation right now? I'd love for you to bring in your thoughts and your inspiration, please.
Sure. Well, the first thing, my heart started hurting a whole heck of a lot, Iain, just because I've been on that side where the person we've been in teamwork with and partnership is something like, my focus is just this over here and it doesn't include you. And that is the stab to the heart. And so just recognizing that that's real. And I really honor you being in that place. I also, the gut instinct I had about that is she is creating clarity in places that she feels she can control. And often, if women are a little unclear about themselves, maybe even she might be feeling like she lost some of herself in relationship. She lost what she loves, what her values are. And so she's in that uncertainty. When women feel that, they'll try to create that for themselves. They'll try to create a container for themselves through things like, my focus is only here. I need space. And that doesn't change anything other than if it feels a little brutal, a little cold, a little shut off, like how could she just suddenly shift lanes like that? It's not a direct reflection or mirror back to you or even your relationship. It's her trying to find her own certainty. And I think this goes back to, Jeff asked me to share what's like the gift of all of you. And I think you have an ability to, when things shift in a relationship, you might have more of an ability to hold both spaces. Like, yeah, our relationship's changing and I'm still going to be in, a connection with you as we work this together. Whereas, women, as we're trying so ardently to create container, can cut off as it's like emotional cutoff. So that was the thought I was having.
I love that, Cynthia. I was taking notes of what you were saying. The last thing, I'll repeat this here in a moment, but what's a man's gift? When things shift in relationship, the man may have the ability to hold both energies. I don't think that's the word that you used. Can you help me with this sentence? When things shift in relationship, as a man, you may have the ability to hold both energies. Okay, that works.
Sure.
Yeah, it's okay. And then you said a woman, and this is important, I think, a woman may be trying to define her own boundaries, and therefore, by the way, that's a masculine type of role when she's defining her own boundaries. That was your point, right, Cynthia? So she may be in the feminine and masculine in this analogy, in this metaphor here, or in this explanation, I should say. She's in both energies, so it's really hard for her to hold the energy for you. Whereas a man, the goal is to lead and be within your own values and wants. And so maybe you can have more compassion for her feminine place and pain and have empathy for that. Is that a good paraphrase of what you said? What would you want to add to that?
Yeah, and I experienced that. My mom was someone who, she got married really young, and she was very much into her identity was her marriage, being a mom, kids, and really she did not have a good sense of who she was. So her way of defining herself, even as a mom, was to kind of shut that off. And it's a behavior, not a true expression of who that person is and what they're feeling.
Yeah, that's what's complicated, right? That's what's confusing. It may not be a true expression of who they are, is what you're saying. Yeah, Dan in the chat says, that's really helpful, Cynthia. Gives some good insight into how my relationship conversations have been. He's in a similar place. And there was a lot of thank you, Jason, for that, for what you shared with us. That's phenomenal and good inspiration. So Cynthia, I'm going to jump back here, and then I want to show the masculine feminine polarity video from Tony Robbins. It's about 3 minutes long. So you had also said, Cynthia, she's creating clarity in places she feels like she can control in relation to Iain's story. Along the way, she may feel like she's lost herself or lost her values. So she may now be attempting to create a container for herself. And she might say, I need space. And that's a way for her to try to start creating a container for herself. And Cynthia, you said, this is not a direct reflection of your or even your relationship, not a direct reflection of you or even your relationship. It's her finding her own certainty. Talk with us a little bit more about that. What do you mean by her finding her own certainty? Does that relate to a woman saying, it's like this blame that comes out. You controlled me. I never blank. You always blank. So how is that in context of she's trying to find her own certainty?
I'll say this, and you may have feedback for me that is exactly the same way on the other side. Women, and I'm not supposed to say this in this day and age of strong, independent women, but it's really easy for women to lose a sense of their own identity in relationship. Even if you're a woman who's doing her work and really conscious about that, it just, that feminine energy is naturally inclined to want to join and meld with another person. And that serves her, having a baby like that. It serves her in terms of, the relationship. She's always being attuned to the relationship space. So it is very likely that she does not like that that's happened, has felt times in her life where she decided to meld with you instead of be more in her own self. And if she doesn't like that in herself, she's not going to like that about you. And that might be where some of the attack comes from, and the you always, and also, a woman can be in the mindset like, I'm always trying to be water. I'm always trying to follow you and see where you're going. And the fact that you don't recognize that or value that, she can be like, oh, you never saw that. She never said it, but you never saw that. And that is somewhere where that attack can come from too.
So rich. Yeah. Andy says he'd love to jump in and share some thoughts about regarding resentments and the harsh things that she may have said in the past, which relates to our opening question also. So Andy, yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
Yeah, hi. It goes back to the initial question that you had on Facebook with that guy mentioning about how I find it hard to get over the harsh things that his partner said to her. And I had a really similar thing. I called it the ice wall, where the woman, my ex-wife, put this ice wall up, and she would come out with some pretty harsh comments to me. And then Cynthia's saying about, I understand it a bit more now, in when Cynthia said that the female tries to create clarity in places that she can control. So, and that they try to create that for themselves. And in my position, and I'm just wondering if I shouldn't speak for you, Iain, but I'm just wondering as well, like you said earlier about that you still had hopes and that you had a few expectations, and you were thinking along the lines of maybe she'll recognize something and might come back to me or something like that. And it all kind of ties in where I'm kind of wondering if the female picks up on that and has always found that unattractive, the seeking approval thing, that women may say harsh things to a man because they feel that they feel they're being clear on that, what they want, but they don't feel that the guy's picking up on it. And in order to make it clear, look, I need this, I want my space, this guy's not listening to me. I had it from Ruth, my ex-wife. She said some pretty harsh things to me, and I found it really hurtful. But I realize now that it was because I wasn't letting go, and I was trying to hang on there with her, and that wasn't helping her at all. I needed to give her the space, you know. I wish I knew that then, but I didn't. And but what I do know is I do understand now why I feel women are sometimes harsh, and it's because the guy doesn't get where the female is going in the relationship with the man still trying to hold on.
Yeah, Andy, thank you. I'm going to pause you for a second. That's phenomenal. So, Cynthia, I'll have you give some feedback on this. Guys, sometimes we'll see that out there as shit tests or confidence tests or congruence tests. I like to call them confidence or congruence tests because shit test is like, well, what is the point? Well, she's testing your confidence or testing your congruence, or maybe she's trying to tell you something in a passive or passive aggressive, or just she's thinking she's being really straightforward, but we're not getting it. So Cynthia, give us some feedback on that. When a woman later on says, well, Tim Wade likes to say that there's a woman that will say, well, I've been hinting the whole time. He didn't get it. So give us some feedback on that scenario, Cynthia, please.
Yes. Well, I would love to touch in on the hinting, because that is exactly how women, communicate and work with each other as friends. It's like they'll say things like, well, if I was going to do this, I would do such and so. Or this other person, she was wanting this, and we're telling you a story as a way to give you a message, like, this is what I want, this is what needs to happen, but we're not telling you outright with clarity. And there are also things that we all know that we are different, and the way a woman might try to share her needs and wants can come across confusing to men, and then vice versa. So there's often, you're like learning a different language, and then people get angry at each other because this person's saying, I keep saying potato and you keep not hearing me. And so it is definitely a learning curve with that. And the hinting is a big part of that.
Yeah, Andy, I want to touch base on that in a moment. I'm going to share this video from Tony Robbins. Cynthia, remind me to give a tool of how I teach men how to move forward from this. Okay, because that's something I teach in my one-on-one coaching. But I want to show this 3-minute clip right now from Tony Robbins. It's about polarity and this exact topic.
What makes a relationship work is things in common. Does that make sense? Might worth jotting it down. What makes a relationship things work is things in common. What makes a relationship passionate is things being different. What makes a relationship work is things in common. What makes it passionate is that things are very different. Now, if they're different values, you're going to just eventually hate each other. But if they're different energies, masculine and feminine energies, regardless of whether it's men and women, right? It could be 2 women, 2 men, man, woman. As long as whatever the relationship is, there's a more masculine one and more feminine one, there's going to be sparks. That's where the electricity comes from. But what a lot of people do is they have a lot in common, and so they have love, but they don't have the passion because they're both being masculine or they're both being feminine, or they've worn themselves out. And most people, when they're tired or when they're stressed, put on the mask of the opposite energy. Most women under stress, ladies, you tell me, become more masculine or more feminine? Which one? Under stress. Which one? Which one? That's right. And the minute you get more masculine, which is like a protection source, there is zero possibility of electricity between the two of you. And if you have a masculine male, now it's war, and then you're going to feel hurt. And the same thing happens with ladies. If a woman is not seen, if she does not feel seen by her man, ladies, you will feel that energy somewhere else where you think you're seen, won't you? Because for a woman, gentlemen, you might want to jot down, these are the 3 biggies. If these are missing, she's missing. She might be here, but she's emotionally missing. She's going to have a hard time having passionate sex with you, because one thing you should all know, women need a reason to have sex. Men just need a place. And the reason for a woman is she feels seen, she feels safe, and she feels understood, gentlemen. She feels seen, she feels safe, and she feels understood. Now, these are not just little phrases. These are life and death of your relationship with a woman. Now, when I say a woman, I apologize, a feminine energy. Because there are women who are masculine, these 3 don't matter, right? You follow the difference? And that doesn't mean sexual preference. You can have somebody be gay or lesbian, and they can still be the opposite energy. It doesn't matter, okay? So if you're with a feminine energy, that energy needs to be seen. Now, men tend to be in one focus all the time. That's the way our brains function.
Okay, I'm going to pause right there. Some huge things that he said. So he's quoting some Esther Perel about love wants to be close and desire wants to have space. Okay, he's talking about some concepts there. If you haven't looked up Esther Perel, we'll definitely have to highlight her again. We've done that in the past. We can highlight some TED Talks from her again, some quotes from her again. We've got Fraser raising his hand. I'd love to hear there. And yeah, good. 2 seconds. And another big thing that Tony Robbins said there that I hadn't heard another place was, when we're tired or stressed or going into a defensive place, we tend to flop polarity. Okay, which I hadn't really thought about before. Unless I'm a really masculine man, and when I feel defensive, I just go into more masculine, like fighting everything. But if I'm a man, most men that I work with, including most times myself, I have to be aware that I'm staying in my own lane, staying in my frame, right? And not exploding over here into, let's say, toxic area, or not collapsing in myself, or not becoming passive. So as a man, if I'm feeling stressed, that's what staying in your lane means. It's not falling into a passive, I don't care, autopilot kind of energy. Right? And I hadn't heard that. That makes perfect sense, that if a woman feels stressed, which Cynthia talks about quite a bit, that she flops into the other polarity of protection. So I think that's really cool. And it's a way for us to empathize with our own self and her of what's going on there. And, we kind of flop into neutrality or into space away from each other, and it just kills the sexual polarity in the relationship. So yeah, Fraser, I'd love for you to jump in, please. Let's go for it. Let me unmute you.
Yeah, Jeff. Jeff, when I heard that clip, the first thing that jumped into my brain was a 1970s Sex Pistols record. Never mind the bollocks, God Save the Queen. My God, I've never heard so much nonsense in my life.
I love it. So let's hear your point of view, Fraser, please.
The guy was talking about that you have to have empathy, you have to have agreement, you have to have no. A relationship is based absolutely on opposites, not on equals. No, you're not equal. Nobody's equal. I'm not equal to him or her or whatever. No, we're opposites. We have opposite feelings. We have opposite. That's what makes things attractive. That's what makes things exciting. My goodness, if we're going to agree with everything.
Yeah, give us a story from your past and how this holds true.
Well, the thing is, Jeff, I'm an engineer by profession, and I believe in physics. And physics tells you opposite attract. The north and north detract. The north and south attract. And I believe in physics, and it works. It works in relationships as it works in physics. And it's been the whole way through history with relationships that people are not the same. If you look for a mirror image, you're going to be disappointed. You're not going to go and say, hey, this person agrees with everything I say. Oh my God, how boring is that?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in, Fraser. So give me a story from your personal life, right? So in the past, you made mistakes, and you admitted that on our show before. And so what have you done to be connected and close to your wife in a way with that that's talking about this polarity that you're
very good, very good point, Jeff. I married a lady from the south of Spain, and I'm from the south of England, and I'm an Anglo-Saxon. She's a Latin, and we are so opposite. It's untrue, but we have a lasting, great relationship because we argue, we debate, we come to an agreement, we come to a disagreement, but in the end, we sleep together and we love each other. But the thing is I truly believe that the opposites absolutely attract. You don't look for somebody that's a mirror image of you. Don't do that. It's the mistake that so many people make. Can I just say a couple of other things?
Yeah, go for it.
We've been talking about that Iain and I are on the Mediterranean. Don't forget, it's all great sunshine and that, but here we are with this little thing in my pocket, because if we don't put this on, we get $500. If we don't have the papers in our car, we get $500.
Oh, is that a mask, Fraser? That's a mask.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, don't forget, we're in the most restricted area in the world for a lockdown. So, there's Iain with
those kind of look like women's panties. I don't know, but I'll take your word for it. It's a mask. Okay, go ahead.
They don't smell like them, but anyway.
Oh, Fraser.
Oh,
yeah, buddy.
Hey. But anyway, that slips. I did say at the end of the last time I was with you all that I am a great aficionado of the Rolling Stones. And I did say, you got to listen to, you can't always get what you want. Well, yes, you must do, because music affects our life, and it controls our life, and it subconsciously goes into our life. And you can't always get what you want, I think, is a great song. Another one of the Rolling Stones is one of the very early ones in 1964, You Gotta Move On. You gotta move on. In Iain's case, my advice to him, he's gotta move on. And okay, you go through phases. We're going through this COVID thing at the moment with phase 0, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. You gotta move on, and you gotta move on the best you can. And it's all very good, analyzing, going over and philosophizing, but you've got to move on. That's all I got to say.
Beautiful. I'm absolutely going to play that. I just found 1964 live black and white Rolling Stones. They look like the Beatles in this shot. Oh my goodness. So Fraser, I actually did play You Can't Always Get What You Want. I think Tuesday or Monday of this week. Fantastic. So thank you so much. I'm going to put you on mute for the moment. That's phenomenal. So Cynthia, let's give us some feedback. So what I'm hearing from Fraser is he knows who he is. He has tremendous spiritual confidence in who he is as a man, what he's doing now for the next 10 minutes, the next 10 months, for the next 10 years of his life. He knows who he is in relationship. He's happy to have conflict, or he's happy to be different than his woman, but he doesn't fall into trying to placate her or be a mirror image of her, or like you say, it's complete bollocks to try to agree with everything that she says. So unmute yourself, please, Cynthia. Give us some feedback on Fraser and how he's coming across.
Well, I love that it's complete bollocks very much. It is so gratifying, Fraser, to hear you say that and how important this polarity is in relationship. It's something I feel mind, body, and soul. And it's so wonderful to hear that, and you have had such incredible life experiences, and that you can come back from those and, be in this leadership role of sharing what works, and it feels really strong and really powerful. And I believe every word you say.
So good. Thank you. I want to share this screen that the opposite of that is being apologetically unattractive and saying something like, I tried, and feeling like you give up. I tried, like a man that we spoke to the other day on the phone and said something along these lines, guys. I was going to do the exercises in the book No More Mr. Nice Guy, like you said, but I turned on the TV and suddenly it was 10 at night. Suddenly it was 10 o'clock at night. I was reading, so the book I was reading for inspiration this morning talks about results versus reasons or excuses, right? Results versus excuses. So the results are This man watched TV all night long, and the results are he didn't do his exercise out of the book. And his reason was, oh, time just passed. He didn't really have a reason, right? And then the next breath is going to be, I'm sorry I didn't do it. I'm sorry this, I'm sorry that, and not confident in himself at all. And that's the opposite of what we're seeing from Fraser. So I absolutely love that. Cynthia, Cynthia, Fraser gave us a thumbs up from the beach in Spain. I love it. So cool. Well, one thing I realize we're after 12 o'clock. It's 12:09 here. Our show, I believe, is going to go 75 minutes most days. So those of you that have to jump away, I honor you. And those of you that can only stay on for the 1 hour, I honor you. I believe that our show is going to push up to 75 minutes. That seems to be how it's going. So Cynthia, I want to move into honoring the fact that, guys, this is a skill. These things are a skill that you can learn. I mean, Fraser is embodying that. He was divorced in the past. He admitted he made mistakes. And now he's the fucking rock star man that we see he is now. And he's had an amazing life. And he's obviously a happy man, even though he has conflict sometimes with his beautiful south of Spain woman, right? So it doesn't mean life is perfect. That's those no more Mr. Nice Guy. The nice guy contracts is thinking that everything needs to be perfect for life to be good. That's completely opposite from the truth, as Fraser just so passionately explained to us. So Cynthia, let's honor our men and bring anything up around this topic that you'd like to, please. And then I want to share another clip from a gentleman, Seth Godin, who I really love. Please, Cynthia.
Thank you all so much for what you shared today, what you wrote in the chat. Jeff, there was a lot of requests for the Tony Robbins link to be posted. And in regards to what you said about it, gosh, it doesn't have to be perfect to move forward. I will go back to I believe that we are with many different kinds of soulmates in our life. And no matter how long a relationship lasts, we're there for good reason. Everything that comes up, the good, the bad, the negative, the fight, the saying something imperfectly, the misunderstanding, we're all there to help each other move into the life that we were meant to live, our best life. And so that brings my perfectionistic tendencies some peace, knowing that everything that arises, everything that is rough and raw, and I wish I could have done that differently, is here to inspire this relationship, here to inspire this person across from me, here to inspire myself. And to me, that's my spiritual why. That's my spiritual confidence. And you are a gift to every person that you've been in partnership with.
Oh, thank you so much, Cynthia. What I hear there too is that you've learned this, I've learned this, the men are learning this along the way. Seth Godin is an author and a speaker. He's written something like 18 best-selling books. And I want to share a couple of minutes from a compilation clip that's phenomenal. And I can put this, I'll have to put this link into the private Facebook group because I don't have that available in my notes here, but I'm going to share this right now for 2 minutes. Here we go. What have we misunderstood about talent versus learnable skills?
There's a difference between skill and talent. Skill is something you learn. Talent is something you're born with. I will grant you that dunking a basketball is a talent. I will never be able to dunk a basketball. But with few exceptions, almost everything in our life is a skill. Showing up on time is a skill. Learning how to read is a skill. Being persuasive is a skill. Being brave enough to speak up and speak the truth is a skill. Caring about customers is a skill. Heart surgery is a skill. So the lie of talent is letting yourself off the hook by saying, well, I wasn't born able to do that. Because you're not going to get in the NBA. I'm not going to get in the NBA. So let's leave that off the table. For everything else, it's about skill. And skill is easier to acquire now than ever before.
I love Seth Godin, such good stuff. And to close out our show, before we say goodbye, I want to show this clip from Brene Brown that I found on the website, The Work of the People. I may subscribe to this website just off of finding some of these particular clips. There's amazing stuff done super well, really great. And this is about what is love? Let me share this to honor Brene Brown here in the clip I'm going to show. The work of the people, Brene Brown, love is practiced, not professed, not just professed. I added the word just. Love is practiced, not just professed.
Yeah, I have a big definition of love and the gifts of imperfection that I try to craft from the data. And it's long, and I try to hit on all the things that I thought were important. But I think the bottom line for me, the most important part of that definition, is I find that love is not something you give or get. It's something that grows between two people when they allow themselves to be fully seen by each other. That's what I think love is.
How far does it go?
As far as you're willing to look into each other's eyes. I think it goes that far. I think love is something, and I don't think it's fragile, but I do think it has limits. And I think shame, blame, criticism, the withholding of affection, I think those things are poisonous to love. And it can only tolerate those things when they're rare and people make amends. I like amends because sometimes an apology is an amends, but sometimes an amends is more. Sometimes you got to make shit right.
Can't you skip step 2?
No. And sometimes I can say, look, I apologize, and someone can apologize to me, and I can be like, well, I appreciate it, but that's not making amends. I need you to make something right. And sometimes I need you to make it right in a future way by not doing it again. And I think the thing about love, too, that's really big is that it's an action word, and it needs to be practiced, not professed. Professing. Yeah, I think love is beautiful when it's professed, but it's only meaningful when it's practiced. And it's messy. Made flesh, as you would say. I love that.
Yeah, practiced versus just professed, the verb of love. And in there, she also said sometimes people need to make amends. And if you feel like a person needs to make amends to you, you can be honest with them about that. Here's my experience. Here's where I would like us to go. Here's my future vision. And I need you to make amends for what happened. And then shut up, right? And I wonder where that's going to go. She may be upset. She may shut down. She may blame you. Like that, you're knocking on a door there that does need to be opened at some point. So when you feel solid in yourself and calm in yourself, that you can go to someone and say, I feel hurt. And the reason that I want to move forward is because I want this positive vision for us in relationship. And for that to happen, I feel like amends need to be made. Maybe you need to make amends, guys, or maybe you're asking them to make amends. And then close your mouth, right? And see what happens. It may not go, and you have to be unattached, right, Cynthia? You have to be unattached to outcome. This has been the C Note Show, brought to you by Great Men Move Mountains and greatmenmovemountains.com. If you don't yet have our free audiobook, go to greatmenmovemountains.com/free audiobook. And there's a PDF 13-page ebook accompaniment with that as well, with tools that we share in the show. Lots of very cool stuff. I appreciate you very much, guys. Thank you, Fraser, so much. Cynthia, thank you so much. Andy, everyone that came on the show. Jason, absolutely everyone that was here today. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Mountain. Let's say goodbye, Cynthia.
Bye. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you again.
It's sunshine, whose body burned hot. I'ma tell you about a woman who's cold as tundra with some frozen eyes. I can tell by the way she moves that she can't.